Thank you, Matthew. Let him start clear.
Look like?
Oh my God, they're huge.
I'd like to open the public hearing.
Thank you, President. The first public hearing I will be doing, and then Jack will do the additional 3 public hearings. The first public hearing we have tonight, which was advertised in the Warren County Record on November 20th, November 26th, and December 4th. And there's a correction. It says 2011. It was 2014. And I just make that correction before it's put into the record, was related to the annexation of Interstate 70 and the surrounding right-of-way approximately 600 feet west of the current western city limits of the city. I have a copy of the publication that was published on those publication dates to be made a part of the record by reference. In addition to that, what's been available and is a handout outside to the public is a copy of Exhibit A, which is the city's plan of intent. I would ask that the ordinances of the city of Warrenton be made a part of the record by reference in addition to the copy of the publication and Exhibit A with regards to this proposed annexation. That's all I have for purposes of this public hearing. We'll have a subsequent ordinance next meeting. Is that what it is? Ordinance next meeting related to this proposed annexation. If there's any questions, if not, I'll take a seat and let the public speak on it if they have any comments.
Is there anybody from the public who'd like to speak on this matter? Hearing none, anybody on the board? Hearing none, we'll move on. Jack, you got the next 3?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Good evening, everyone. First item I have is a public hearing for a proposed amendment to Section 425 sign regulations. I'd like to make part of the public hearing record the municipal code by reference, the public hearing notices, and my P&Z report. Per ordinance number 2182 dated July 15th, 2014, banner signs no longer require permits. So the text amendment would be to revise Section 425.120 sign permits required exceptions to include banner signs. This motion for approval passed 7-0 with 3 absent at the December 4th, 2014 Planning and Zoning Commission meeting.
Okay. Is there anybody from the public who would like to talk about this? Seeing none, anybody from the board? Seeing none, we'll move on to the next.
Okay. The second one I have is a proposed site plan approval request for Harbor Place, SP-87, to be located along the east side of Highway 47, opposite Villa Duchesne Drive. Proposed location of Warrior Acres, Lot 2, Plat 1. Once again, I'd like to ask that part of the public hearing record is the municipal code by reference, the public hearing notices, and my planning and zoning report. On September 5th, 2014, a request was filed for site plan approval for an assisted living facility to be located on the east side of Highway 47, opposite Villa Duchesne Drive. This property is zoned C2, general commercial. Per Appendix A, 1 residential, B, group living, 1 residential care and/or assisted living facility. A conditional use permit is required. This site plan approval request has been submitted by the applicant along with a conditional use permit approval request as required per Section 405.340 C8. Motion for approval passed 7-0 with 3 absent at the December 4th, 2014 Planning and Zoning Commission meeting, with the condition that a minimum of 13 parking spaces at all times.
Anybody from the public would like to speak on this matter? Please state your name.
Good evening, Board. My name is Kurt Daniels with Cochran Engineering. I appreciate your time tonight. Would you like me to explain a little bit of the site plan now, or wait till it comes back up for bills? You want me to wait till it comes up for bills, or I just wanted you to know that I was here?
I think now.
Well, no, there's actually a section on the agenda where
Yes.
Jack will talk about it.
Okay, super. I'm here just to let you know. And the same for the conditional use.
Okay. Anybody from the board? Hearing none, we'll move on to the next.
The last one I have is a conditional use permit approval request for Harbor Place, CUP-39, to be located along the east side of Highway 47, opposite Villa Duchesne Drive. Once again, I'd like to make part of the public hearing record, the municipal code by reference, the public hearing notices, and my planning and zoning report. On September 5th, 2014, a request was filed for conditional use permit approval for assisted living facility to be located on the east side of Highway 47, opposite Villa Duchesne Drive. As previously mentioned, there's also been a site plan approval request submitted as required for section 405.340. This motion for approval passed 7-0 with 3 absent at the December 4th, 2014 Planning and Zoning Commission meeting, with the condition that a minimum of 13 parking spaces at all times.
Anybody from the public would like to speak? Anybody from the board? At this time, we'll close the public hearing. I'd like to open the Warrenton Board of Aldermen's meeting, December 16th, 2014. Could we all stand for the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Item number 3, approval of minutes.
I can make a motion, we approve the minutes from the December 2nd, 2014 meeting.
Second.
Motion by Alderman Ock, second by Alderman Holly to approve the minutes from December 2nd. Any discussion? Roll call vote.
Alderman Dreyer?
Yes.
Alderman Slater?
Yes.
Alderman Holly?
Yes.
Alderperson Casterly?
Yes.
Alderman Ock?
Yes.
Alderman Clark?
Yes. Item number 4, hearing from the public. At this time, we allow anybody who would like to speak 5 minutes.
We'll put you on the
Thank you.
clock anyway.
Good evening, Alderman.
Good
My
evening.
name is Ron Dickey. Since this is the last scheduled meeting of the year, I would like to wish you guys and all the employees of the City of Warrenton a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. I would also hope that everyone would remember Mayor Dyer and Cheryl and keep them in their thoughts and prayers as they go through this tough time. Thank you and God bless you.
Thank you for
Same to
your
you.
kind words. Anybody else from the public?
Board, I'm Stan Shelton. I was here a couple of weeks ago, and I was going to come tonight and apologize for being too negative. I read in the paper that seemed like that a couple of aldermen was pretty upset with me because I'm always negative with the city. But I went home and looked at the Constitution. And under the Constitution, there's a Bill of Rights. And under the Bill of Rights, the First Amendment was freedom of religion, freedom of speech, and freedom of the press. And you might not like what I say, and you can criticize me all you want for what I say, but there's reasons why I do it. In the paper this past week, the story was and brought up about the audit that I helped propose and got 500 and something people from the city of Warrenton to sign a petition drive to have the city audited. And it did say you were good. It did come back good. But if it was good, I would like to see the paper run a story of how many things you have changed since that audit's come out. You know, we learned that you paid $791,000 for property and then get an appraisal. Here this past year, you bought property for $200 and something thousand and get an appraisal. Would you have done it if it hadn't been for the audit. The audit also brought up that you weren't collecting $2 per ticket that was written. And that had been going on for several years. And that ended up to be about $6,000 a year the city was losing or not collecting. So you might not like what I say, and you can criticize all time I get up here. But the only thing, Alderman Clark, I'd just like to know, am I still welcome to come up here and criticize?
Yes, you have. So far, I don't like half the things you say. I'll have to agree with you. But overall, I think you've made us look pretty good. Our audit and everything, it comes out pretty good. I'll defend your right to come up, is all I can on it, because you do have that right. And so by you doing that, sometimes does keep us on our toes. I have to agree. I like to hear a little positive once in a while, and maybe some ideas how to fix the issues that you have. Just not have an issue. Give us some ideas how it can be fixed.
Well, I'll give you one right now. You got $791,000 sitting in property that's been there for several years.
And you want to buy it?
I will. I'll pay you $1 for it right now.
No.
Have you had an offer on it?
No.
Okay.
It's not on the market.
It's not on the market,
But
so
if you want to give us 700,000, I'll take 800,000 just for round figures.
have we ever had it appraised?
Yes,
We have?
yes.
And the appraisal was?
I don't know offhand,
Okay.
but
Thank
I
you.
will defend for you to come up, and you're more than welcome to come.
Thank you very much.
I think John brings some good points, Dan. I think anybody, the public, is welcome to come up and be critical. I think what you have to recognize is sometimes when your criticism is not reflective of everybody on the board either, or the current board. Last meeting, you were critical of the money spent on the overpass project. The reality is, the community has changed the board has changed itself, and if everybody's sitting on the board here, people weren't participating in that decision or currently now. People weren't participating in the decision to spend the $791,000 to divide the grant. Those were people who are no longer on the board, who are no longer. And so when you come in and you be negative about stuff, it's reflective on the current board. And I think the current board has made substantial changes in what we're doing and the reasoning and more transparency. And so it just generates this feeling within the community of negativism and reflecting, well, gee, what the board has been for years and years. And that's not the case. There's new members on the board. There's members who haven't participated in any of those decisions, who did say we're going to get an appraisal on the purchases we have, regardless of the audit, because that's what we should be doing. So
Correct.
that's part of the atmosphere that's being created by things that come out of the past historically.
And Gary, I'll say this. From this day forward, I won't criticize what's been done in the past, but I might criticize what you've done in the future.
And I'm perfectly fine with that.
And
But I would also be perfectly fine if you have ideas on things that you would like to get done, because the board listens. When I first was elected to the board, I had phone calls from individuals who were complaining about not getting their water bills on time, getting delinquent fees. We've made changes so that now it's all automated. They can get it through email, they can get it directly out of their bank. Those changes are done. So when you come with issues, it's nice to come with solutions. We're working on the land, we will have solutions on the land. But these things take time. They're not done overnight.
all right, thank you.
Is there anybody else from the public? From the board? Have any more you want to add?
Yeah, I do have a couple comments. I want to talk a little bit about the Board of Adjustment meeting that I was at. What I would like to propose is maybe we have Jack come up with a more user-friendly type packet that when somebody appears before the board, that they could see, because it was quite apparent in the meeting that, you know, the people on the board are good people, they're dedicated citizens, that we're trying hard. But when on the Board of Adjustment, when you are to deny a request, because you always have to have a positive vote, you have to say why you're voting negative. And in the state statute, there's 5 different ways to vote negative. And it was quite clear that those concepts were pretty rough And as a matter of fact, the first person who voted had no reason, no idea under the 5 scenarios why he was voting no. And so the chair of the meeting decided on the rest of the votes, we'll wait till everybody votes, and then we'll, as a group, decide. So I think, my number one goal when I was elected to make the city more user-friendly, to make the city a place where people would be comfortable addressing issues, comfortable in going to the city, whether it's requesting a service, whether it's paying a bill, whatever it is. And I think we need to seriously look at the process of the Board of Adjustment. I realize we can't change it by state statute, but we can give supplemental documentation out that would explain the 5 reasons in common language, not something that a lawyer came up with or a legislator came up with. And I think that's done in other municipalities. If you go out to St. Louis County's website for buildings, for example, there's all sorts of supplemental documentation that puts it in user language, what the process is, how you should do it, and it clarifies. And I'd like to see if we could do that on the Board of Adjustment type questions and procedures, so when somebody does come before the board, I think they're a little bit more prepared and it's a more user-friendly type approach. And I think it would be beneficial also for the board members who are on the Board of Adjustments.
Gary, one of the things we talked about very briefly was the idea of maybe even putting a couple sample videos as well, links that may be helpful as well, just to see it in addition to some supplemental material, because it is very rigid and very, ambiguous ideas. So
yeah,
it would be helpful as well to see kind of it in practice and how they operate as well.
Yeah, because when I sat there, my impression of it, and I've been on council for 22 years now, and it's the first Board of Adjustment meeting I ever went to, and I realized that, it almost felt like the process was more about following the guidelines than it was about finding a solution to an issue. And that's just the feeling you had. So I think if we can do some stuff to make it a little bit more user-friendly so that it's easier to go through that process, I think it'll be beneficial for not only the citizens coming before, but also the Board of Adjustment members. That's all I have. Did I have a couple minutes? You take your turn.
Nothing?
I want to thank the city staff for their work on Hometown Christmas. It was a huge success in spite of the weather, and I appreciate what the city staff did to make the event successful.
I agree with that. Jim, you have anything? I have just one thing. We had a special board meeting earlier this evening, and at that time the board has decided to appoint Mike Showharvey as mayor, interim mayor, or nominate him for interim mayor, if they'll accept it, starting tomorrow. So we have that announcement. It's Mike Showharvey. If he accepts it, will be the mayor.
You might make a comment. I think the idea, we had met earlier and made the decision to do nothing, but I think as the public will know that both 2 of the board members up here are going to be running for the mayor in the coming election, and we felt it created more of a sense of equity if we had an appointed mayor by the board, so that John and Eric, who are running, both could serve their functions as aldermen, and the public can see them as aldermen when they make their decisions. And that was, I think, the thinking on the part of a number of the board members in making this change. And it's not a reflection on either individual personally, it's just an opportunity for them to function as they were elected by the public.
Does anybody have anything else? Okay, let's go to item number 6, board and commission appointments. We have first up, Board of Adjustments, 5-year term, reappoint John Deach. How do you guys want to handle this?
Individual motions on each of these appointments, or can we do them all as one?
If there's no discussion, you guys have typically done them as one appointment.
Okay.
If there's really no, if you want to read through them first, see if there's
Sure.
any discussion, then do them as.
Building Board, 2-year term, reappoint John Lichtenmeyer. Building Board, 2-year term, nomination of Kurt Alger. And for Planning and Zoning, a 4-year term, reappoint for Ron Dickey, Rich Kohler, and Teresa Scott. For Tourism, a 3-year term, reappointment for Tammy Miller. Any questions or discussion on them? If not, I'll entertain a motion.
I make a motion that we approve the board and commission appointments as presented.
Second.
Motion by Alderman Holly, second by Alderman Ock, to approve the appointments as presented. Any discussion? Roll call vote?
Alderman Schluter?
Yes.
Alderman Holly?
Yes.
Alderperson Casterly?
Yes.
Alderman Ock?
Yes.
Alderman Clark?
Yes.
Alderman Dreyer?
Yes.
Okay. Item number 7, letters for the mayor.
I'd be happy to address that. Mrs. Cosgrove is a 3rd grade teacher at Daniel Boone Elementary, and her students were working on writing, and specifically persuasive writing, and doing some letter writing. And we had 3 students that addressed their letters to the mayor. And in lieu of no mayor at this point, we wanted to share these with everybody, and then we would like perhaps Mr. Shilharvey, if he accepts the position, to respond to these students. The first one says, "Dear Mayor, I think the city of Warrenton needs more restaurants. I think that because we only have a couple of them and people are starting to get tired of the ones we have now. We need healthier restaurants because people to make healthier choices. Some examples, we need more restaurants so we can make more money, so we can do something fun. For example, we should use the money to add more equipment to the parks. That is why we need more restaurants." And that was written by Maya. A second one, "Dear Mayor, firefighters need more recruits at the firehouse because first off, we need more recruits so firefighters can work all weekend and switch off and on with the recruits and firefighters each weekend. Also, we need more recruits so if we need to help more people at the same time, so it is faster to save people's lives. We need more recruits at the firehouse so some people safer during a fire. We also need more recruits so people that want to be a firefighter can be a firefighter. That's also why we need more recruits at the fire stations." And that one is from Braden. And the third one, "Dear Mayor, Warrenton needs an indoor baseball stadium. I think we need one just in case our game gets rained out, or if it is too cold, if the field is still open, we can play. My second reason is if it is really cold outside, we don't have to waste laundry. My last reason is so more family and friends can come to the game. Those are the reasons why Warrenton needs an indoor baseball stadium." And that one is from Ben. So I know that writing is a difficult thing for students, and I think it was interesting that these kids cared enough about their community to send some letters to the mayor, and if we can at least respond to them, that we received them, and we would take their considerations under advisement. That would be great.
I like the way Ben thinks. My kind of guy.
Absolutely.
Is there anybody? There's something else?
No.
Any comments from anybody? No? Okay, let's move on to item number 8, cost to replace industrial park signs.
Good evening. I was asked to present you all with some pricing on the sign for the industrial park. We have 2 different estimates. The first one is for actually just the panels being adhered to the existing sign. It's there. The existing sign that we have is a block structure with mortar on the outside of it, just a skim coat, and then the letters are affixed to it. What we're looking at doing on this one is the panels will be screwed directly into those blocks on the sides, and then the picture on the bottom is, both of them will look identical to this. The other option is, the second one is they will make a steel, or make a framework that will go around the sign that's there, and the panels would be affixed to the structure, and then that would give us a little, it won't be directly onto the sign, onto the existing sign. So it's kind of however what you all think you want to do.
Brad, I'm a little bit confused. I thought there was something wrong with that structure where the signs wouldn't stay on.
Well, the ones that are on there now are block letters that have rods in them. The rods are all rotting off, and they're just
So
kind
the
of.
blocks are good, just those rods?
Right, just all the
bad.
rods and everything are bad, though, all the letters, and then also the face of it, if you look at it, I mean, from when you're going by, it doesn't look bad. When you get up to it, it's all cracked, and that's either gonna have to chisel up, take a hammer, knock it all off, and then redo it. And we're probably looking at $5,000 to re-stucco it, just with that part, and then we still have to get new letters to put on it. These are all bisque panels that are put on. The letters are vinyl. They're kind of like the signs that we have around that the City of Warrenton signs are all digitally printed, and they'll be actually raised out a little bit from the sign there and put back on.
Brad, what would the life of this type of a sign be?
On this one, we could probably get, I would say if you went with the one with the steel structure is going to be a little bit longer, because the only thing I'm worried about with it getting put onto fixed it right to the sandwich it to the one we have there now is the hot and the cold is going to I'm afraid is going to separate the panels from it. Water getting down behind it will help. But with the one with the steel structure, you're probably looking, I would say, probably get 20 years out of it. Probably no problem.
And I'm estimating that the one out there probably is about 18 years old. So,
yeah, it was pretty close to 18. John Travis or his dad is actually the one that built it. Travis Brick Lane.
I know we had a sign where I worked that was very similar to the second option, and we had it up for 13 years, and it's still up, and it looks like it's brand new.
okay.
Because what they do with the metal and the lettering, it keeps it fresh all the time. I also have some concerns about, when you start jury-rigging by attaching a sign to an older structure, is that going to compromise the life? Is that going to compromise what it looks like? You certainly don't want to put up a sign that looks
Right.
Bad. And what did we accomplish? We're trying to take pride in our city and what we accomplished. Is there any thought to going to the business owners in the park and asking for their participation so we could do the more expensive of the two signs, or what's the feeling there? I know there's a history of dissatisfaction because they're paying water rates outside the city of Warrenton, as I understand, and there's some history there, and I don't know the history. Is there any thought about potentially going to see if we can get some participation for the nicer sign, or what do you think?
I would be happy to volunteer to go with Michelle to each of the businesses and show them what we're proposing and the cost difference to see if they're willing to. Part of the reason that I would feel comfortable doing that is that I was involved in this process the first time, although a lot of those owners are different. Just having had some history, I'd be happy to do that with Michelle if the board would like me to.
Before we decide to do that, though, let me ask real quick. After the last meeting, this is still property that belongs to us, correct? The last time we discussed this, I believe that small tract of land that it's on belongs to us. Now, I'm just going to throw this suggestion out there, and in my personal opinion, I know people will disagree, don't want to eat the cost of it, but if we can afford it, I'd rather see us fix it in good faith and hand it over to somebody else after that. Either give them the land or give it to somebody else. And I know, like I said, I know it's gonna come up in disagreement, but if we've held on to that tract of land thus far, I just feel like we should go ahead and fix it out of good faith and then give it to someone.
I think the only problem with that proposal is why would anybody want to take it? Because they're taking something that they'd have to maintain going forward. I mean, if I was one of those business owners in the park, that would be my first thought. If the city's gonna take care of it for us, why should we spend our money on it otherwise?
Is there a property owners association out there? I don't know.
I believe so.
Originally, it was intended that there would be an association, but I do not believe that it ever really has materialized, or if it did, it has not stayed in existence.
So,
I don't know that the property owners were under that understanding in the beginning.
Wasn't there originally, though, some guidelines on the property owners? Because I know there was a couple of the businesses back in the park that were not maintaining their borders grass-wise and greenery-wise appropriate, and some of the other members were not happy about it. But was that just individual stuff, or was that an association that was trying to force compliance? Do you remember, Tony?
That was after my time, Gary.
That was after your time.
and I don't remember hearing anything like that.
Okay. Well, that's certainly, Eric, but that certainly could be a question Tony could bring up on the
Are they-
conversation when she goes out, is there an interest to take over this sign and this property and it's theirs going forward? But if Tony's volunteering to go,
I would want to go with Michelle. I don't want to go in place of.
What's your pleasure, Jim? Okay.
So we table it to the next meeting at the results of
Is
what?
that what you want to do, is
Yes.
table it
Yeah, let's
until
table
they get the results? Okay. We'll table item number 8, cost replace industrial park sign until we get a report back. Everybody
And it
happy
may
with
not
that?
be by the next meeting, just in case people out of town for the holidays, but
To a future meeting.
whenever Michelle can get it scheduled, after school.
Probably be after the first of the year. Okay. Is that okay with everybody?
Yes.
Very good. Item number 9, Terry Thorne, Director of Operations.
My first item for you this evening is discussion of the proposal for the master plan from Vario. She has submitted their proposal containing the scope that we discussed at the meeting that we had. Their proposal, their amount for that proposal is $90,000. We currently have $70,000 in this year's budget. So if we choose to accept this proposal, we will need to increase our budget $20,000 for the cost of this proposal, and about an additional $10,000 because there are some costs associated with the meetings and production of printed materials for those meetings and other things that the city will need to bear the cost outside of the proposal. It does include everything that we previously discussed, and it includes a lot of public input meetings that they would be involved in putting on. My only question or concern with reading through it is it does not contain a significant amount of recreation planning, and I know we wanted that to be a component. What Lisa says is that it includes the framework, so they would include in a lot of the survey materials, as well as in the discussions at the meetings with the public, the questions that we want to get answered in regard to recreation programming. So things like what the public is interested in, what do we not offer that they're interested in having offered, those sorts of things if that's what we choose to do. But it is not a full-blown recreation master plan, but does include those basic components. It's about a year-long process from start to finish and acceptance of the completed plan. So if you choose to go with this, it would be very possible to add the additional amount in next year's budget to what we currently have budgeted.
That was going to be one of my questions, Terry, is how do we pay, what's the payment process?
We will pay, much like we do engineers working on a project, you will pay as components of the project are completed, based on a percentage of completion. So we would be well into the new fiscal year before we had really what I would call significant
And
payments.
we originally had budgeted $100,000 for this.
For a recreation and master plan, yes, we had 100,000. And then with not having a recreation department any longer at last budget, we reduced that amount, thinking we didn't need quite as complex of recreation component as we originally thought.
The question I have is how much additional time costs is it gonna take for internal staff? Because when you read through some of her deliverables on her sheet,
Yes,
some of the deliverables sound like, well, I'm just taking the deliverable under group visioning. The deliverable is agenda, presentation materials, discussion tools, and meeting summaries. But does that include somebody from their group leading that visioning group?
Yes.
Or does that include our person leading?
no. Every public meeting would be led by their group.
Okay.
Our only staffing for any type of public meeting would be perhaps providing someone at a registration table to register people as they come in. Our involvement also would include, they will provide all of the materials that will need to be printed and copied along the way. And then we will need, in some of those instances, to get those copies made or whatever number of pamphlets we might need. But they're providing all the materials. Our responsibility is to get those materials copied and ready and available for those meetings.
Under staff responsibility, on the bottom of her proposal sheet, it says create and maintain website. Are we in a position to, is she talking about getting the website ready for SurveyMonkey, or what's she talking about there? And do we have the resources to do that? Or are we gonna have to depend on an independent contractor to do it?
No, I think we certainly have Jessica who can handle that.
Okay.
And really what it means is adding a link and a page to our existing website so that there is a page out there on the website that talks about this master planning process and what upcoming meetings there might be, but they will provide all of the language and materials. It will simply be an input function
Okay.
that we can handle on our end. And Jessica's doing a really good job of maintaining our current website.
To me, the overage on the budget isn't a big deal, in the sense that part of the reason for the overage is the amount of time and resources it takes to get a decent community feedback.
Sure.
And that's critical to the plan. We don't want this to be 6 people's plan and maybe a dozen more, but we want it to be a community-wide feedback. And so if those are additional mailing costs or whatever it takes, I think it's well worth the money, since we're doing this, and since we can spread it over to 2 budget cycles.
Sure.
That would make sense. The other thing, and I share your concern about, I was a little bit surprised when I read the section on what we're going to get for parks and recreation planning. It seemed like it's really not where we want to go. Now the question is, can we do this first part, accumulate the data, and then when we see we have, then maybe enter into another contract to really formalize a hard plan as opposed to just accumulating the data? Would that make sense?
I think that is typically how the process works. It is not typical in everything I've read and looked at to consolidate a true recreation master plan with a comprehensive master plan. They're really 2 separate functions. But as I understand it, the basic information that's gathered during this first component can be used as the basis to start a future recreation master plan that would focus more on programming and different opportunities of that nature. So I think it absolutely would be the right plan to get this component completed, and then in the future look at a true recreation master plan as a separate document.
I think for us on the board's purposes, in the future means immediately after, because this data gets old quick. And so if we were to get the data in whatever time period is, 6 months, and look at it and go, well, okay, let's think about this for another 6 months, and then 6 months turns into a year, and then a year and a half, then you got old data, and so you really lost the benefit. So it's kind of a commitment. If we're gonna do the first step, we really want to focus on getting the second step done in some timely manner too.
I would agree with
I
that.
agree completely.
So are we looking for a motion to accept the proposal from this company?
I think tonight it would be acceptance of the proposal, and then next meeting, we would actually bring you the contract agreement for approval as an ordinance for the mayor to sign.
I'll make a motion that we approve the proposal from Verio for the comprehensive plan.
I'll second that.
Motion by Alderperson Casterly, second by Alderman Sluter. Oops, that's it. To approve, let me get it down there. Approve the proposed comprehensive plan, the proposal for the comprehensive plan. Any discussion? Any more discussion? Questions? Roll call vote?
Alderman Holly?
Yes.
Alderperson Casterly?
Yes.
Alderman Ock?
Yes.
Alderman Clark?
Yes.
Alderman Dreyer?
Yes.
Alderman Sluter?
Yes. Motion passed 6-0.
The next item I have for you this evening is request for approval of an updated uniform policy. Brandy frequently goes through and looks at policies, as do department heads, and we came to the realization that we never updated our uniform policy for the permanent part-time employees. They've been permanent part-time and work year-round for quite some time, but we need to add them to the policy just to reflect that they're receiving uniforms, and then also to the boot allowance that we have for public works and grounds and maintenance employees.
And this is really no change in procedure, just change in written policy.
It's getting it recorded correctly, yes.
Okay. I'll make a motion that we approve the uniform policy.
I'll second that.
Motion by Alderperson Casterly, second by Alderman Sluter to approve the uniform update policy. Any other discussion, questions? Roll call vote?
Alderperson Casterly?
Yes.
Alderman Ock?
Yes.
Alderman Clark?
Yes.
Alderman Dreyer?
Yes.
Alderman Sluter?
Yes.
Alderman Holly?
Yes.
Motion passed 6-0.
And then a couple of things for you as operational updates. Want to congratulate Brad on successfully completing the National Recreation and Park Association Playground Safety Inspector. He took an examination recently and passed with flying colors. So congratulations, Brad.
Thank you.
He can now be certified to inspect all our playground equipment. The other thing is to touch on Hometown Christmas, which I agree with Alderman Holly was a huge success, even though it was pouring down rain the entire time we were here. There were 575 registered for the raffle. I can only imagine if it had been nice weather and not raining, how many that would be. It went very smoothly. Jessica did an awesome job of the planning, and the department heads did a great job of working the event. Gave away 125 prizes ranging from $20 to $400. There were some very happy people on Monday when she made those phone calls, and I think that tourism made a very good decision in wanting to offer those additional prizes, because that is the most people that I have seen at a hometown Christmas event that we've been doing since I've been here. So it worked to attract the people, and we've already started talking about how we had better be planning for next year, because I truly believe if the weather had been nice, there would have been people lined up at 10 o'clock after we were already supposed to be finished. There were people lined up all the way to the street for a good portion of the evening.
At least an hour and a half to 2 hours, I'd say.
Yeah, it was awesome. It was wonderful. The kids really enjoyed it. They got great pictures that Greg took for them, decorated a little frame and took their family photo home with them, and so it was a really, really good event.
I think also we need to thank the aldermen who helped with that? There was quite a few that came and
Absolutely.
stayed.
Those that rode on the rainy parade float, if you
Yeah,
will.
they rode on the float, and they helped out with the event here at the City Hall.
Sure.
They did a great job. I have to say that the idea of coloring on those picture frames that was a home run for as I was concerned, to watch those kids do that.
1,000 stickers on those frames that they went through. Stickers were very popular that night on the frames, but it was a great event. It was very enjoyable. Everyone was very happy during the event, and it really turned out well. So that's all I have.
Okay.
I had a question, Terry. How long does it take to get our updated MoDOT sign for the new State Fair Queen?
It takes a while. Melody, have you had any feedback from them recently?
It's been ordered, they're in the process of making it. They've received the contract, it's been signed, and then they've got the check. So now they just gotta make it and then put it up on their terms.
She'll get there on her 20th anniversary.
I know.
It never moves quickly
I
when you
know,
have a
it's just
special
been quite a
sign
few
made.
months, so I thought I'd ask.
Okay, any other questions? Hearing none. Item 10, Brad Booziker.
Give my monthly report. It's,
Are you cutting a lot of grass?
not much grass cutting. Doing some,
And no snow
mulching.
removal?
Yeah, no, now let's keep that one out of there.
Hey, Brett, will they cut those trees still this winter in the park?
Yes, contract has been signed, and as soon as we can, feasible for us to get in without cutting too many ruts, we're gonna start, well, be up Binkley, Dyer, and the cemetery, and Quarry League.
Have we had much with the US Tree, like our thing we were doing of trying to promote trees? People would pay an X amount of dollars for a tree planted in.
We've just planted 5 of them for the tree remembrance program. We had 5 of them that were planted 2 weeks ago, I think. It was 2 weeks ago that they planted those for the fall. Now the next one will be in the springtime. But yeah, those very nice trees that we had planted there. We've got 2 at the cemetery. There's one over at Dyer, one at Binkley, and then the one that Jack gave away for the recycling program was the lady next to the Baptist Church on 47 received that one. She called and thanked me for it and said, beautiful tree, and she was well pleased with them. They're nice trees.
They're nice trees.
Yeah, I attended the Boones Lake Regional Planning with Michelle, and their guest speaker was from the Conservation Office.
Yeah, Perry. Yeah, Perry's our forest guy here.
He did a great job.
Yeah.
That's what brought it up
Yeah.
and think of it. Yeah. Any other questions for Brad? Hearing none, thank you, Brad.
Thank you.
No, item number 11, Jack, zoning officer.
First item is the monthly report for the building department, code enforcement.
It was interesting, if you read it, in the first 3 or 4 months of the year, it looks like there was a lot of sign stuff, and I guess we changed the ordinance, now there's no sign stuff. So it goes from 15 in 1 month, and then all of a sudden none, so.
Shows how many banner signs are put up.
Yeah.
Any other questions for Jack?
Next item I have is the proposed amendment to section 425 sign regulations, ADM-70. And that was revising the code, specifically section 425.120, sign permits required, exceptions to add banner signs as a type of sign that does not require a permit.
Any questions? Hearing none. You have anything else, Jack?
Next item I have is the proposed preliminary and final record plat approvals for Warrior Acres, Lot 2, Plat 1, SUBD-52. It's a preliminary and final record plat approvals for Warrior Acres, Lot 2, Plat 1. This site is the proposed location of the Harbor Place Assisted Living Facility. Motion for approval passed 7-0 with 3 absent at the December 4th, 2014 Planning and Zoning Commission meeting with no conditions attached.
I mean, to me, this is pretty straightforward. I mean, the property owner owns a piece of property. He wants to divide it in 2 sections. It's really his prerogative as to how to split the property to get best use out of it. So I don't know how a person can really comment on that, to be honest with you.
And the actual property owner is here this evening.
Yeah, I just saw that I was the one who signed the ordinance many years ago. I could go over.
Any other questions or comments? Hearing none?
Second item I have is the proposed site plan approval request for Harbor Place, SP 87, to be located along the east side of Highway 47, opposite Villa Duchesne Drive. It's the proposed location of Warrior Acres Lot 2, Plat 1, which we just discussed. And Mr. Daniels is here from Cochran if you have any specific questions for him. And Melody can pull up the drawing.
Well, the question on this one really is the usage. It's not really the site plan, or is it the usage? And the second one's...
This is specifically for the site plan.
For the site plan.
Conditional use would be the next one.
Yeah, well, let me just make a comment on it. When I wrote notes about the meeting for the board, I talked about the issue that was brought up by 2 board members about concern about if Highway 47 gets widened, and you were provided a redrawing of the plan. I think the building's in the same location, and it's on the screen in front of us. And up here, it shows that if the highway were to be widened to 2 lanes and a turn lane, that there would be sufficient space to do that without the petitioner moving their building back. And I think that was the concern that came up that night at the board, at the P&Z meeting.
And this drawing actually shows 4 lanes plus a turn lane.
Yeah, 4. That's
a total of 5.
4 lanes a turn. And I think sometimes we think that's silly, but the highway department has, over the years that I've been in Warrenton, has put money into Highway 47. We had the widening of the bridge over the interstate. We had the widening through town. They put money south of town where they were trying to straighten out the road. The money in the bridge. So Highway 47 has been a source where they put it in. So as the community grows, that if you envision someday this could be a wider road, but if it fits in, I don't see there's any issue from my perspective.
And when the Planning and Zoning Commission recommended approval, it was with the condition that they also maintain a minimum of 13 parking spaces, which the drawing shows it wouldn't affect.
That was a question.
If they did go to the 5 lanes, it wouldn't affect the proposed parking.
The only question I had from that meeting, and it didn't come up, but I don't know what's behind the property. Is it homes? Is it plotted homes?
The very back is Field of Dreams, yes, the Cannon.
It's Field of Dreams. So
are
there plots there? And it's buffering a consideration. That was my only thought, is if you have a commercial development, and granted it's pushed way to the west, it's farther away, there's a lot of ground between the building and where the property line is. Is that a consideration that should be thought of, or I'm just kind of curious as to what you think?
I don't know if this one shows it clear enough on that drawing, but they're saving the existing tree line and that back there. They're saving as much as possible. The other drawing might show it better.
Yeah, it's hard to...
Where, go down another.
I don't know if the owner's engineer want to address that. Do you see what I'm talking about? Because sometimes whenever we put a commercial next to a residential, we always have a conversation about how does that not have a detrimental impact on residential? And I realize the building's quite a ways away from the residential, and the drawing looks like there's some trees
Yeah, it
drawn
looks
in.
like they're trying to save as much of these existing trees as possible.
And we are. Good evening, Kurt Daniels with Cochran Engineering, for the record. I appreciate your time. We are trying to leave the rear of that property as untouched, undisturbed, if you would. We understand there's residents back there. We like to feel that the assisted living, they are our grandparents, our mothers and fathers in situations, and they do like to live in a nice area also. So we are leaving as much of that untouched as we can to help the serenity of the homeowners.
Is there a huge elevation drop?
There's not a huge elevation drop. It falls off minor. Off the top of my head, I can't tell you how much it does. 5 or 8 feet, I think.
Okay.
I'm going from memory.
So the reality is, you might even give some protection to a homeowner who's doesn't hear highway noise because your building is blocking some of that noise.
Absolutely.
From sitting down.
Absolutely.
And trucks and Jake braking.
Jake break.
I'll get the Jake braking one.
No.
Yeah, other than that, I don't have any questions that remain from that meeting myself.
And Alderman, it looks like from the front of the property to the rear, it's the worst place is about 6 or 7 feet difference in elevation.
Okay.
The northeast corner drops off, or the northeast corner is the lowest.
Were there any adjacent property owners that came to the planning and zoning meeting?
No, ma'am.
Any other comments or questions?
I mean, that Tony, to be honest, that surprised me a little bit because the entrance to this property is directly across the street to the entrance of the subdivision. And I thought somebody would come and at least express some traffic safety concern, but that didn't happen, so I assume the people are comfortable with it in the subdivision.
It was well posted and.
Yeah, my viewpoint on it was based on the occupancy. I didn't expect a huge traffic flow as if you had put the gas station in or something along
Right.
those lines. It is a residential facility, so it's not a 24-hour facility with in and out traffic nonstop, so.
Well, I think the other thing this shows is the property, when the property across the street was up for consideration on zoning changes, there were a lot of nervous energy about that. But it's sometimes when people come with proposals where you can see exactly what it is they're doing, it gives a certain comfort that you don't get when somebody says, I just want changes to commercial or whatever it is. So I think that's a benefit from this also.
And I like the extra option this brings to our elderly residents.
Right.
It'd be well needed.
Typically, an assisted living facility is a good neighbor.
Mm-hmm. Now you got the hospital right next to it.
Okay, is there any other real comments or questions?
Last item I have is the conditional use permit approval request for Harbor Place, CUP 39, to be located along the east side of Highway 47, opposite Villa Duchesne Drive. This motion for approval passed 7-0 with 3 absent at the December 4th, 2014 Planning and Zoning Commission meeting, with the condition that there be a minimum of 13 parking spaces at all times.
I have no issues in that either.
I don't either.
Any questions or comments? Hearing none?
That's it, and then just so Mr. Daniel knows, you'll be voting on it for the ordinance at the end of the meeting for official approval.
Okay. Does anybody have any other questions for Jack? Hearing none, let's go to item number 12, Chief of Police, Greg Hauschel.
Good evening, all. The first thing I have is the November report for the police department. Not a whole lot remarkable there. The numbers this year compared to last year are about the same. Basically, day shift is doing a lot of patrols in the schools. We found that that's been a very popular program, so we're going to continue doing that. Just have the officers stop by the schools, even the ones that have SROs in them already. They're stopping by just to be visible.
Thank you.
No problem. Any questions about the report?
Yeah, when I was reading the monthly criminal investigation division report, the significant items are pretty significant. Are those all things that occurred within November or cases that were opened in November?
Neither. Those are cases that are pending.
So that could be accumulated over a certain time period?
Right.
Yeah, because if that was all concentrated in 1 month,
We got a problem.
we got a problem.
Yeah, no, those are cases that are on the books that are currently being actively investigated.
And any one incident could be one case, so you could have multi-occurrences within a case.
Correct.
That makes me feel better.
That makes me feel a little better.
I was pretty impressed with Detective Weber's increased activity. Seems like he's fully engaged now.
He is. It took him a minute to get ramped up.
Yeah.
And you know, they've been doing a lot of backgrounds, which is a time-consuming process. But he is starting to get ramped up, and I'm going to talk to you in a minute about getting him some training, which he really needs to get done as well. Any other questions?
No, I seen you have 2 participants in the ride-along for November.
Yeah, I think those were applicants.
Applicants, okay.
All right, item number 2, approval to hire Bobby Roberts as a full-time police officer. He comes to us with 20-plus years of experience. All of it was in North St. Louis County. He is anxious to come out west and kind of start a new part of his career. He lives close by, so that was an aspect as well. But he's really excited to be out of North County.
Make a motion, we approve the hiring of Bobby Roberts, the full-time police officer at $17.23 per hour, starting December 29th.
I'll second that.
Motion by Alderman Ock, second by Alderman Sluter, to approve the hiring of Bobby Roberts as a full-time police officer at $17.23 with a start date of December 29th. Any questions, comments? Roll call vote?
Alderman Ock?
Yes.
Alderman Clark?
Yes.
Alderman Dreyer?
Yes.
Alderman Schluter?
Yes.
Alderman Holly?
Yes.
Alderperson Casterly?
Yes.
Motion passed 6-0.
Thank you. And the last thing I have is a request to have Detective Weber go out of state for training. This request is for him to go to a crime scene evidence collection course at the Searchy facility in North Carolina. It's in the Raleigh area, North Carolina. Little back history. The sheriff approached me and also the chief at Wright City to put together a sort of major crime scene processing group, a collaborative effort, cooperative effort with all the departments. Detective Weber seemed like the most reasonable person to send, since he really hasn't had any formal training yet as a detective, and he needs to get that done. The plus side here is the sheriff is picking up the tab for the class. The only thing that we're on the hook for is travel and his meals and lodging. So it's going to be relatively inexpensive to send him out of state.
How many days is the class?
It's a week long.
To make sure it wasn't 6 months.
No, it's a 5-day school.
Where was the class again?
It's in North Carolina.
Just to give a little backing to the board, to give a little information to the board, that's like probably the top-notch facility you can go to. I was kind of surprised to hear that. That's impressive. If you're a detective, you would be envious of anybody that went there. It's very nice.
I would entertain a motion.
Do we want to put like a per day, meal, or what's your plans there?
What's the
Just-
policy? Just to,
What is our policy? Do we have a policy?
As far as out-of-state travel or meals, there is a per diem daily for meals
Okay.
established in policy.
Okay.
And are we not approving this out of state because we by policy have to approve all of out-of-state travel?
Because it's out of state,
Yeah.
and everything has to be budgeted within budget, so really it's just the approval for travel out of state.
I make a motion that we approve the out-of-state travel for training for Detective Weber.
Second.
Motion by Alderman Holly, second by Alderperson Casterly to approve the out-of-state travel for training for Detective Weber. Any questions or discussion? Roll call vote.
Alderman Clark?
Yes.
Alderman Dreyer?
Yes.
Alderman Schluter?
Yes.
Alderman Holly?
Yes.
Alderperson Casterly?
Yes.
Alderman Ock?
Yes.
Motion passed 6-0.
Thank you.
Does anybody have any other questions for Chief? Okay. Item number 13, Public Works Director, Guy.
Good evening. First item I have is the monthly report.
I have a couple questions, real briefly. On the cash sold by at the water pump,
I'm sorry, the what?
the water station over on Ashland where you can buy,
Yeah,
the number really dropped in November. Was it out of service for part of the month, or is it typical?
no, it just slowed up because of the winter.
It's typical to
Yeah,
drop that way.
they
And
get
then-
checked once a month
And
with
then
the
was it
readings and that,
out?
and it's just,
There's 0 on August and September.
it was out of
Yeah, that was out for
service, Jen.
tenants, right.
But it's back in service.
The other question I have is, on the report, it always has the high usage rereads, and maybe this is a Terry question. There was 86 last month. What happens when there's a high usage reread and you find out that it really is a correct read, but it's really high? Is that property owner notified, or they just, when they get the bill, they go, oh, or I don't know.
Well, they receive, I believe, a card hanging on their door
Yeah,
that their rating is high.
Okay.
And we also do the dialer too, and notify them by phone. And if we don't make contact by phone, like with no answer or no phone, then we'll hang a card.
Okay. Just curious what the policy is. Thank you.
Any other questions? You got more for us?
Yes, I do.
I was afraid of that. See, we're not spending any money tonight, so.
You're dressed so nice tonight.
The first item I have is milling and paving for Columbus Circle, Market Street, and Westbrook. And Westbrook consists of Worthington Drive and part of Canterbury, where the asphalt's all tore up, and then going down towards Warrior Avenue. If you've gone down that hill, how the asphalt's all separated and sliding down. That was budgeted. I put all three of them together, and that was budgeted for $130,000. And Mid-River Asphalt in Troy came in at $112,000.
Make a motion to approve the bid from Midwest Asphalt of Troy for $112,000.
Second.
I believe it's gonna be Mid-River Asphalt, sorry.
Mid-River's Asphalt.
Is that what I said? I thought I said that.
Midwest.
From
It's close
Midwest,
enough.
Mid-River.
Okay, motion by Alderman Ock, second by Alderman Sluter.
Holly.
Holly?
I think that's fine. We both did.
Somebody seconded.
I'll second it.
Okay. To approve, I forget, you want to read the motion?
To award the milling and paving bid to Mid-River Asphalt in the amount of $112,000, the low bid.
Yeah, I think I probably screwed up the process, John, because I was shocked they were into my award.
I understand.
Yeah?
Any other questions or comments? Roll call vote?
Alderman Dreyer?
Yes.
Alderman Schluter?
Yes.
Alderman Holly?
Yes.
Alderperson Casterly?
Yes.
Alderman Ock?
Yes.
Alderman Clark?
Yes. Motion passed 6-0.
Next item I have is the concrete street repair for Isabella, Donna Maria, and Tomahawk and Sundance. The budget amount was $82,300. Low bid came in at $89,530. Since I was under on my milling, I want to use $7,500 from that to go to the concrete work on
I'll make a motion that we approve the concrete street repair bid for T.S. Banzi from Forrestville, Missouri for $89,530.
Second.
Motion by I can't say it now. Alderperson Casterly, second by Alderman Holly, to approve the low bidder of T.S.
Fancy.
Fancy, for $89,530 for concrete repair. Any questions? Roll call vote.
Alderman Schluter?
Yes.
Alderman Holly?
Yes.
Alderperson Casterly?
Yes.
Alderman Ock?
Yes.
Alderman Clark?
Yes.
Alderman Dreyer?
Yes.
Motion passed 6-0.
Next item I have is approval for the Cherry Street Highway 47 water line replacement. Total budget for that was $11,000. The estimate cost is $10,481.
Does the water line run in front of the homes on Cherry Street?
It runs in the alley.
It's in the alley between 47 and Cherry, is that how it
Yes.
works?
Yes.
Is there a lot, we were always told there's a lot of underground cabling, wiring, infrastructure through that alley. Is that gonna be problematic to replace lines?
It'll slow things up. What we'll do is we'll get all our locates done and then adjust where we need to put it to stay away from the other utilities.
Okay.
I know there's gas back there.
All right. Okay. Well, let's see, since it's in my ward, make a motion that we approve the estimated cost for the project of the water line on Cherry Street, in the amount of $10,481.
I'll go ahead and second it. It's my ward too.
Very good, you're catching on, Aaron.
Motion by Alderman Ock, second by Alderman Schluter, to approve the Cherry Street water line project for $10,481. Any other questions, comments? Roll call vote.
Alderman Holly?
Yes.
Alderperson Casterly?
Yes.
Alderman Ock?
Yes.
Alderman Clark?
Yes.
Alderman Dreyer?
Yes.
Alderman Schluter?
Yes.
Motion passed 6-0.
Next item I have is the water replacement for Cherry Street parts. And I put that out for bid, and HD Waterworks came in at low bid at $7,861.
Wow, specialties must have really missed a decimal point somewhere, huh? 37,000, 30,000 over budget, wow. Can I,
That's
can,
good.
before I go on, is the water line being replaced from what, Banner all the way down to, what's the length of the replacement? I'm kind of curious.
It's the whole, I don't have the footage.
It's the whole stretch of the alley?
Yes, from Banner to,
Floor.
yeah.
Or is this, I know we've had this discussion before as it relates to the donut shop coming in on the one street and who takes care of the alley and the traffic behind there. So when we go through, we're gonna tear up the alley, replace the water lines, and then are we gonna go back in on another project and rock, asphalt?
And
the
repair
alley?
it.
What-
We'll repair it. And what we're hoping though is we can keep it on one side of the alley. We won't be in the street.
Okay, because the bank exits out the alley, the donut shop will, but that's gonna be long before this project starts, I would think, or long after.
Yeah, we're gonna start this one. We'll call for locates and that and order the parts tomorrow.
And there's a number of homes that have garages in the alley,
That's correct.
so we just have a workaround with them, so, okay.
We'll put the signs up and that, let them know ahead of time that we're coming through.
The police valet system.
Would that be a good time for the donut shop to do something while you have that ditch open?
No, it'll be a good time for us to get it in there before they get it in, so if we do have a problem, they don't.
Say that again so I understand.
It's for us to get the water line in before they start doing their work is what we want to do.
Okay.
So when they finish their product, we don't have to go back and tear out what they just put in to put the water line in.
Make a motion, we approve the water line replacement parts only bid tabs at $861 from HD Waterworks out of O'Fallon, Missouri.
Second.
Motion by Alderman Ock, second by Alderman Dreyer to approve the HD Waterworks out of O'Fallon, Missouri for the water line replacement parts only bid tab for $7,861. Any questions? Roll call vote.
Alderperson Casterly?
Yes.
Alderman Ock?
Yes.
Alderman Clark?
Yes.
Alderman Dreyer?
Yes.
Alderman Schluter?
Yes.
Alderman Holly?
Yes.
Motion passed 6-0.
Next item I have is Pinkley Street sidewalk. And TS Banzi came in at low bid at $52,689.30.
And that goes from where to where on Pink?
That's gonna go from the school to the First Street. I can't think of the name of the street off the top of my head.
So is there a time frame for the project?
There is. They were gonna start as weathering permit, and I don't have when.
I guess the real question is it how soon is it gonna be done based on the school year? It's not a project we're gonna start at school break and finish. We have to find the kids come back. So it's gonna extend for several months, I assume.
Complete project May 1st, 2015.
Okay, so it might not be till the next school year.
Okay. So since this is in our ward, Tony, I'll make the motion that we approve the sidewalk bid from TS Banzi from Forestville for $52,689.30.
Second.
Motion by Alderperson Casterly, second by Alderman Holly to approve the Pinckney Street sidewalk bid to TS Banzi for the amount of $52,689.30. Any other questions or comments? Roll call vote.
Alderman Ock?
Yes.
Alderman Clark?
Yes.
Alderman Dreyer?
Yes.
Alderman Schluter?
Yes.
Alderman Holly?
Yes.
Alderperson Casterly?
Yes.
Motion passed 6-0.
So, just real quick on a side note, if I'm doing my calculations correct, did you just save us about $23,000 on bids and will be it? I'm proud of you today.
Yeah, he's gonna wanna spend it though.
No, I
Okay,
think,
but tonight he's not, so let's be proud of him.
I think that's the wrong way to look at it. He only spent a $500,000.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay. Item number 14, ordinance bills to ordinance.
Make a motion to introduce bill number 7414 for first reading.
Second.
Motion by Alderman Ock, second by Alderman Dreyer to introduce the first reading of bill number 74-14.
An ordinance amending section 425.120, sign permits required exceptions of the municipal code of the city of Warrenton, Missouri regarding banner signs.
All for second and final reading of bill number 7414.
Second that.
Motion by Alderman Ock, second by Alderman Schluter for the second and final reading and passage of bill number 74-14.
An ordinance amending section 425.120, sign permits required exceptions of the municipal code of the city of Warrenton, Missouri regarding banner signs.
Any questions? Roll call vote.
Alderman Clark?
Yes.
Alderman Dreyer?
Yes.
Alderman Schluter?
Yes.
Alderman Holly?
Yes.
Alderperson Casterly?
Yes.
Alderman Ock?
Yes.
Motion passed 6-0.
Introduce bill number 7514 for first reading.
Second.
Motion by Alderman Ock, second by Alderman Dreyer for the first reading of bill number 75-14.
An ordinance accepting plat of the subdivision known as Warrior Acres Lot 2, Plat 1 by the city of Warrenton, Missouri.
Call for the second final reading passage of bill number 75-14.
Second.
Motion by Alderman Schluter, second by Alderman Holly for the second and final reading and passage of bill number 75-14.
An ordinance accepting plat of the subdivision known as Warrior Acres Lot 2, Plat 1 by the city of Warrenton, Missouri.
Roll call vote?
Alderman Dreyer?
Yes.
Alderman Schluter?
Yes.
Alderman Holly?
Yes.
Alderperson Casterly?
Yes.
Alderman Ock?
Yes.
Alderman Clark?
Yes. Motion passed 6-0.
Motion for the first reading of bill number 7614.
Second.
Motion by Alderman Ock, second by Alderman Dreyer for the first reading of bill number 76-14.
A zoning ordinance as authorized under section 405.390 of the municipal code of the city of Warrenton, Missouri, approving a site plan for Harbor Place located along the east side of Highway 47 opposite Villa Duchesne Drive.
Call for the second final reading and passage of bill number 76-14.
Second.
Motion by Alderman Schluter, second by Alderman Dreyer for the second and final reading and passage of bill number 76-14.
A zoning ordinance is authorized under section 405.390 of the municipal code of the city of Warrenton, Missouri, approving a site plan for Harbor Place located along the east side of Highway 47 opposite Villa Duchesne Drive.
Any comments, questions? Roll call vote?
Alderman Schluter?
Yes.
Alderman Holly?
Yes.
Alderperson Casterly?
Yes.
Alderman Ock?
Yes.
Alderman Clark?
Yes.
Alderman Dreyer?
Yes.
Motion passed 6-0. Come on, boys and girls.
Introduce bill number 77-14 for first reading.
Second.
Motion by Alderman Ock, second by Alderman Dreyer for the first reading of bill number 77-14.
An ordinance approving the conditional use to allow a residential care and/or assisted living facility for Harbor Place located along the east side of Highway 47 opposite Villa Duchesne Drive.
Call for the second and final reading and passage of bill number 77-14.
Second.
Motion by Alderman Schluter, second by Alderman Dreyer for the second and final reading and passage of bill number 77-14.
An ordinance approving the conditional use to allow a residential care and/or assisted living facility for Harbor Place located along the east side of Highway 47 opposite Villa Duchesne Drive.
Any questions or comments? Roll call vote?
Alderman Holly?
Yes.
Alderperson Casterly?
Yes.
Alderman Ock?
Yes.
Alderman Clark?
Yes.
Alderman Dreyer?
Yes.
Alderman Schluter?
Yes. Motion passed 6-0. Item number 15, executive session.
Make a motion that we move to executive session.
I'll second that.
Motion by Alderperson Casterly, second by Alderman Schluter to go into executive session for litigation.
If you can make a point, we have to announce the reason why, and I want to make sure that's clear. It's for
Litigation?
Yeah, and that wasn't part of the motion.
Okay.
I want to make sure it's clear on the record.
We're going to go to executive session for litigation. Any questions? Roll call vote?
Alderperson Casterly?
Yes.
Alderman Ock?
Yes.
Alderman Clark?
Yes.
Alderman Dreyer?
Yes.
Alderman Schluter?
Yes.
Alderman Holly?
Yes.
Motion passed 6-0. Number 16, we don't go to.